Girl with the Broken Wings is a modern fantasy book by Heather Dye. I, Gracie, a 4th grade student at HUB, chose this book because I thought it was about a real girl with wings. It really was about a girl that is an angel. I like this book because it is whimsical and quirky. The author is very good at using her imagination because she puts an angel to earth to live with humans. She makes crazy situations causes chaos with humans and the girl with the broken wing. The story shows how you can learn to believe in yourself and accept yourself just the way you are. You might believe in a guardian angels after reading this book. The girl with the broken wing, the main characters are James, Amanda, and Hillary. Hillary is the girl with the broken wing who shows up on the roof of James and Amanda's home. Hillary is humorous, unpredictable, and playful. James and Amanda are boy-and-girl twins who live in a home with their parents. James is a young boy who can be selfish, mean, and rude. He's not very patient with other people, especially Hillary. James believes that Hillary is just a girl with fake wings like a costume. Amanda is encouraging with other people, including Hillary. Amanda believes that she is the real guardian angel to her. The story begins with the twins, James and Amanda, and then suddenly hear a sound. The sound was coming from a skylight on the roof. They were about to realize the biggest problem on the roof. They looked through the skylight and saw they opened the skylight and the girl dropped down. They met the girl and her name was Hillary. Hillary looked normal like a regular kid, except she had a pair of large wings. The twins discovered that Hillary had a broken wing. Hillary went into the room and fell asleep on the couch right away. Amanda decided that the solution to the problem would be Hillary staying in the room until her wing could heal. James did not like that idea because Hillary staying because they would have to hide her from the things. The twins decided to cover Hillary's wings with a wonderful coat. Hillary would have to keep the coat on all the time. The next day, the twins were going to school and Hillary wanted to go with them. So she flew to their school. Eventually, Amanda and James realized that Hillary had followed them to school. Hillary went to art class with them. She spilled paint and got angry at James. Hillary and James went to the principal's office and found out Hillary wasn't allowed to go to school because she wasn't registered. So she had to go home and wait for the twins to return. Hillary was allowed to join the family for a picnic as long as she wore the brown duffel coat and agreed not to embarrass James. Hillary seemed to enjoy the picnic at first. When the group was telling a story, Hillary began screaming and crying. James was so embarrassed. On another day, Hillary noticed that the twins were packing for a field trip at school. She wanted to go with them. The twins would not allow her to go with them. She was up. As they were riding the train to York, they noticed that Hillary was flying above following the train. Next morning, when the twins woke up for breakfast, they noticed that Hillary had returned back to their home and left the brown duffel coat at their house. They were sad to know that she was gone. They were upset not to have been able to say goodbye. Even James was upset about Hillary leaving. The twins noticed that Hillary had left a note. The picture says that I will be home. I feel this book is very creative and funny story. I like the situations that Hillary and the twins end up in. I like the characters in the story, especially Hillary, because she's an angel with wings. Hillary's beautiful and she gets into mischief. Amanda's kind, helpful character in the story. She reminds me of my mom. I think James is obnoxious and he reminds me of my older brother Hunter. I think that there are boy and girl twins in the story, just like me and Ryan. I have a lot of connection in this book. This makes it more meaningful to me. I recommend this book because it is intelligent and humorous and a story about angels that comes to earth. This book is appealed to people that believe in angels. Everyone should read this book, even the people who don't believe in angels. You could change your mind after reading this book. I've always believed in angels and now the world through an angel's eyes.
Hello, my name is Natalia. I'm in 4th grade. This book is a modern fantasy. It's called Charlotte's Web. It's by Evie White. The pictures are by Garth Williams. In the book of Charlotte's Web, it starts off with a little girl named Fern. She saw her dad with an axe. She asked him why he had an axe. He said one of the pigs is a runt and it's weak. So she said, well, if I was small, would you kill me? And he said no. Then he said, you can take care of him, but when he's a month old, we will give him to Uncle Homer, Mr. Zuckerman, who owns the barn by them. She named him Wilbur. When Wilbur was a month old and went to Uncle Homer at the barn, he got to meet an old sheep, a goose, a rat named Templeton, and eventually a spider named Charlotte. He thought she was cruel because she drank fly blood and other insects, but she was really nice. One day, an old sheep told Wilbur, when the cold time comes, Mr. Zuckerman will kill him. Wilbur told the sheep to stop talking about it. It made him sad. Charlotte told him he would not die, that she would help him. He wondered how she would save him. She told him he would find out in the morning. When Wilbur woke up, he saw the words, "Some pig," on the web she made. Then when Levi, one of the farm workers, came with Wilbur's food, he saw the web and told Mr. Zuckerman. Charlotte kept writing phrases, and Mr. Zuckerman saw them and went to the minister and told him not to tell, but he did, and Wilbur became famous. Mr. Zuckerman liked Wilbur so much he entered Wilbur in the pig contest to see if he was good enough, and he was. Wilbur won first place. Wilbur noticed Charlotte wasn't feeling well. She wanted to stay at the fairgrounds because she knew she would soon die. Wilbur didn't understand why she couldn't return to the barn. Charlotte explained why she couldn't return. He was very sad. Soon Charlotte was so weak she died. But before she died, she told him he no longer had to worry. He will get to live many seasons. After laying her eggs, Wilbur took them to keep them safe. Charlotte knew they would be safe because she trusted him. He had a good friendship with Charlotte. She taught him to be brave. After all the eggs hatched, almost all spiders left him. Only 3 stayed behind. Wilbur taught her 3 babies to be good, keep them safe, and show them how to have a good friendship with everyone. I highly recommend you read Charlotte's Web. It has animals, and I love animals. If you like animals, you will like this book too. I also like this book because it talks about friendship, and everybody has friends. The book also talks about being brave, not afraid. Finally, the book had a happy and sad parts, but the book ended happy. You must read this book. Thank you.
The name of this book is Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. Pictures by Garth Williams. One day, Fern was eating and she asked her mom where Papa was going with the eggs. Fern's mom said there were some pigs born last night. Fern said, "Why does he need an egg?" She was only 8. One of them is a runt and is weak and won't make it. So he decided to take it away, said Fern's mom. "You mean kill it?" cried Fern. She ran and caught up with her father. "Please don't kill it," begged Fern. Then he did. She took him and kept him. She took care of him and named the pig Wilbur. When Wilbur got a little big, she built him a little house in the yard. When he got bigger, they took him to a barn. He was lonely there and had no friends. One day, Wilbur saw that one of the boards were loose. He ran and hit it. He did it again and again until it broke. When he broke it, he ran out. When the farmer's helper saw Wilbur, he tried to catch him. The farm animals told Wilbur to go to the woods, but Wilbur was surrounded by a sheepdog, the farmer's helper, and the farmer. The helper got a bucket of food to make Wilbur go in the pen. But Wilbur thought, "If I ran away, I'll be lonely." So he followed the guy in the pen and ate. All night they kept saying, you had your chance. Late at night he said, "I want a friend." Then this voice said, "I'll be your friend, but go to bed and tomorrow you'll see me." The next morning they met each other. She is a spider named Charlotte. One day they heard that something bad was going to happen to Wilbur. So the next day on Charlotte's Web it said, "Some pig." Then everybody saw it, and Charlotte and Wilbur were in the newspaper. There was a fair, and they are in it, but Charlotte was going to die. But before she died, she had babies. Wilbur was sad for her, but for now on, he is happy. If you like animals and friendship, this will be a good book for you.
The Spider Chronicles, written by Detrez, Eland, and Black. Chris, 4th grade. In the beginning of the book, they were just moving in with each other. Lorraine and Nick were brother and sister and were moving in together into Nick's house. One night they heard a noise. Lorraine and Nick both went to look to see what it was. When they got out there, they saw a barrel, and Lorraine saw something Nick could not see without her necklace. And they looked at it, and it didn't move. They hid it and went inside their house. The next day, they got the barrel, and inside was a fairy that lives in water. She was going to die, but they put her in water and saved her. The fairy's name was Taloa. She almost drowned Nick while playing. Afterwards, Nick could see all the monsters without Lorraine's necklace. He saw a monster with a trash bag on its back, but it ran away before they left. Taloa mentioned she needed help finding her sisters, but Nick said no, so Taloa hexed him. When they got back to their house, Nick and Lorraine saw tiny claw marks that went to their dad's car, and when they looked at their dad's car and it was filled with sand, they tried to clean it, but they could still feel sand. That night, their dad and mom did not believe them. Lorraine's dad said that she might have done it, but Lorraine's mom said, "Are you saying my daughter did this?" But he said no. Then he turned to Nick, and Nick walked to his bed. The next day they went back to the fairy, and Nick said, "Okay, we'll help you," and they did. Then some guy came and slayed a monster. Then he walked off the road, and they never saw him again. I did not like it because I hate fairies, and the book was boring, and I didn't learn anything from it.
All right.
Margaret Peterson Haddix, author of The Missing Book 1, found a science fiction book reviewed by me, Liam, a 4th grade student. This book is about Jonah and Chip, 2 friends who knew they both were adopted. Chip and Jonah begin receiving strange letters that are very scary, saying, "Beware, you are one of the missing." An airplane went missing. Chip and Jonah find a phone number to the FBI. They meet the FBI agent and see a list of names saying survivors. Jonah and Chip attended a conference for adopted kids. They think it's a trap. At the conference, they walk to a cave. They see the missing plane and realize they are from the past. They are sent back to the 15th century. I love the book. I thought the time travel was cool. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the adventures. My favorite character was Chip. He was a great friend to Jonah. I recommend this book to others who love time travel.
I am Brayden and I am in 4th grade. I just finished reading a modern fantasy book called Tonight on the Titanic by Mary Pope Osborne. Today I am going to give a review on the book. This book is about 2 kids named Jack and Annie and their librarian friend Morgan Le Fay. The story is set on a rainy day in Frog Creek Woods. The kids in Morgan Le Fay are in the treehouse when they begin reading a book called The Unsinkable Ship. My favorite thing about the Magic Treehouse books would be that the kids have master librarian cards and can literally jump into into a book and become part of it. When they start reading, they are whisked back in time to April 14th, 1912, when the Titanic set sail. Annie, Jack, and Morgan Le Fay find themselves aboard the Great Titanic. They spend a good bit of time browsing the ship. They go through a lot of floors, eventually getting to the basement. In the basement, there are people playing a game of poker. Annie, Jack, and Morgan Le Fay continue exploring when they hear a person shout, "Iceberg ahead," from the lookout nest. They heard the screech and crash of the ship hitting the iceberg. They run towards the front of the ship and find a man doing Morse code, putting out a signal for international help. The captain told the gentlemen they were sinking in to call for help. The other people on the ship thought the sounds were just an engine and that it couldn't possibly be an iceberg. The ship was unsinkable after all. Annie and Jack started banging on the cabin doors. The other people on the ship had no idea it was sinking. They tried to warn everyone possible. When they were warning guests on the ship, they came across Lucy and William. Lucy and William are brother and sister. They were on the ship alone, heading to New York to meet their parents. Annie and Jack explained to them what was happening. They grabbed their things and headed to the stairwell that led to the top. After safely getting Lucy and William into a lifeboat, Lucy gave Annie her father's pocket watch as a gift to thank them for helping save them. Lucy said that the watch was for good luck and insisted that Annie and Jack were their good luck that night. Annie and Jack make it back to the treehouse safely. The treehouse is how they transport themselves through time to get home. Once they make it back home, they spend a few minutes thinking about how horrible the whole event was. They look at the pocket watch and notice the hands are frozen at 2:20, the exact time the Titanic sank. Sadly, the Titanic didn't have enough lifeboats to hold all the passengers on the ship. The builders thought the ship was unsinkable and didn't warn everyone about the sinking ship soon enough. I really enjoyed this book and think that it would be appropriate for anyone who likes action and intensity. It took a long time for the ship to finally snap in half and start to sink, but once it broke in half, the ship sunk quickly. I was on the edge of my seat, wondering if the ship would actually sink or not. I enjoyed getting into my stories. When Annie and Jack were transported through time, I was excited to see where they might land. I was even more excited to see the descriptions of different rooms and floors. Annie makes comments about how bright the top deck was and how amazing the grand staircase looked. It was really exciting to imagine that I was on the unsinkable ship with them. I would highly suggest this book to anyone who loves to be on the edge of their seat and anyone who has a good imagination. I hope you take the time to read Tonight on the Titanic by Mary Pope Osborne. You won't be sorry you spent the time to carefully read it.
The book that I'm reviewing is Charlotte's Web. The author of the book is E.B. White, and the genre is modern fantasy. My name is Farron, and I am in 4th grade. This story is about a pig named Wilbur who was born a runt, which is the smallest of the litter. One day, Fern's papa was going to kill the runt, and she begged her papa not to kill the pig. She convinced him that she could take care of the small pig and raise him as a pet. She named him Wilbur and kept him for 5 weeks until she sold him to her uncle, Mr. Zuckman, to raise. While on the farm, Wilbur struggled to make friends. He missed Fern so much, but eventually he made friends. One day he was crying and heard a sweet voice in the distance say, "I'll be your friend. Wake up and you will see me in the morning." The next day, Wilbur woke up and looked and realized it was a spider, and her name was Charlotte. As time went on, they became great friends. Charlotte showed Wilbur how she traps insects in her web, and Wilbur showed how much he loved to play in the mud. One day, Wilbur overheard a conversation saying that they were going to kill him. So Charlotte came up with a plan to save Wilbur. Her plan was to write words about Wilbur in her web, and her plan worked out perfectly. Mr. Zuckerman was so pleased that Wilbur could write words in a web that was going to enter him in the fair to win a grand prize. While at the fair, Wilbur won a gold medal for being out of the ordinary. Charlotte was weak and dying. She didn't have much time and would only last a day or two. Wilbur took Charlotte's sack back to the farm with loving care and waited for the new baby spiders to be born. One day, all the baby spiders were born and eventually grew up and went off on their own. Wilbur will always remember how Charlotte saved him. My review of this book is to read it because it was sweet. This is the story of friendship, love, and caring. This book shows how different animals and insects look out for each other the same way that people should look out and care for each other.
Hi, my name is Mason. I'm in the 4th grade. I've been reading an interesting novel called Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. It all started when a girl named Fern asked where her dad was going with that axe. She and her mom were preparing for breakfast in the kitchen. Her mother responded to the hog rush the pigs were born last night, and one of them is reported the city's going to kill it. What? No, you can't kill it. It hasn't even started its life yet. Fine, you can keep the pig. Just take care of it. Okay, Mom. You better hurry, the bus is coming. So Fern and Wilbur got to stay together. Well, Mason told a month later. Fern, it's time to give the pig to your uncle. What are you talking about? Said Fern. Didn't you hear we're going to give the pig to your uncle's uncle? Fine if I have to. So they went to the Zuckermans and gave them the pig. So, Mom, I can still watch him, right? Yes, just after your homework. Okay, Mom. Meanwhile, at the barn, Wilbur found out he was going to die by becoming bacon. So Charlotte, a spider friend of his, wrote some pig on her web, then terrific, then medium. Wilbur became famous. Charlotte really did her job, but a little while after Charlotte died, Wilbur was happy and sad at the same time. He was happy because he won first place at the state fair. He was sad because Charlotte died. I recommend reading this book because it has animals, friendship, and happiness, my 3 favorite things. Thank you. The book I chose for my book project was Spiderwick Chronicles. It was a great book because there was a lot of cool mythical creatures in it. And first in the beginning, Wilbur found a weird stone up in this attic. And then this weird goblin guy was guarding it, and he said his brother was getting dragged away by goblins. And then he had to go look for him with his sister Mallory. And then along the way he met different types of creatures, and they met a griffin, and then they tried to help the griffin as they put it in a stall, a horse stall that's in their backyard. And then they found all sorts of goblins, and they let them into a marshy swamp, and then a big troll ate them. The things I didn't like about the book was it was very short, and I wish it could be longer.
My review of Charlotte's Web. The author, E.B. White, a modern fantasy. My name is Anissa, and I'm in 4th grade. Characters of the book are Fern, an 8-year-old girl who lives on a farm, Mr. and Mrs. Errol, her parents, and her brother Avery, Mr. and Mrs. Zuckerman, Fern's uncle and aunt, the barnyard animal, Pig, Tumbling the Rat, Charlotte the Spider, and cows, sheep, and geese. In spring, a bunch of piglets were born to Mr. Apple's mother pig. Fern's father felt that the runt of the litter would not live with so many others in the litter that he would have to take an axe to the runt. Fern argued with her father to save the pig, so she was allowed to raise the pig, which she named Wilbur. As spring goes by, Wilbur grows too big for her to keep in the house, and Mr. Arable said that Wilbur needed to go. So Wilbur was sent across the road to live with at Fern's uncle Zuckerman's farm. While there, Wilbur meets new friends while living in the big old red barn, with sheep and geese and a rat named Penguin and a spider named Charlotte named Wilbur one day found out that he will be eaten for Christmas dinner and was frightened. He did not want to die. So Charlotte came up with an idea, with a way to help Wilbur. She wrote in her web, and people came from all over to see a famous pig. Wilbur got to go to the county fair. Charlotte's Web is a nice book to read. It has talking animals, action, and laughter to the story, and tells of friendship and hope. It tells about life on the farm and a girl's friendship with a pet pig.
This book is about the Magic Tree House. The person who made it was Mary, I can't pronounce it.
Mary Pope Osborne.
Mary Pope Osborne. It's about the Magic Tree House, and I think it's an interesting book because it has like the jungle and it has lots of animals and stuff, and it's a magical book. And it has different kinds of stuff that you like see on TV, and that's kind of neat actually.
What happened in the story?
Well, I don't remember the guy's name, but one of them in the Magic Tree House turned the other guy into stone. So they had to go back in one of their books, and there was like some kind of wizard, I think. And they had to give the wizard this piece of paper, so to find the magical flower.
Okay.
And then they had to use a potion like this.
Okay.
To,
Show it to me.
A potion like this.
Okay.
To turn them tiny, so they can go get the flower and find it. They had to be tiny because there was King Cobras in that area, and they had an elephant. It had a baby, so they let it go in the wild. And the elephant, before they let him go, the elephant saved them and then had a baby. And they got the flower and returned, and the teacher said that was a great boat that they made, and they saved the person that wasn't made out of stone.
Okay. Would you recommend that book to anybody? And why?
I recommend a book because if you like animals and jungles and magic, then this will be a good book for you.
Dear listener, the book I read was Spiderweb Chronicles, Book 1. The Field Guide. The author of the magnificent book is Tony Terry. I love the fact that the book genre is non-fiction, fiction combined, which is modern fantasy. My name is Logan and I'm in 4th grade. The book's about a family called the Grace family. They moved into a Victorian house in the middle of nowhere. The family was small with only 4 members. Mallory was the big sister. Jerry and Simon were twins. They looked identical. Helen was their mom. She was a hard-working mom. The family came from New York by car. As they discovered the house, Jerry found a dumbwaiter dumbwaiter is like an elevator for food. So Jared stepped into the dumbwaiter. It took him to a secret room you can't get to by stairs. Jared found a book in the room. It was a field guide, a big brown book with a red ribbon wrapped around it, and it explains how to capture magical creatures. When Jared found the book, he stumbled across a magical creature that loves honey. When the creature is mad, it turns into a boggart. A boggart is a creature that destroys everything. The only way to turn him back into his normal form is honey.
Hello, my name is Tucker. I am in 4th grade. The mystery book that I chose to read is called The Magician's Elephant. It was written by Kate DiCamillo. I would like to tell you a little bit about the main characters. Peter Augustus Desheen is a 10-year-old boy that is sent to the market to get some things for his guardian, Vilna Lutz, who marched in the war and was close friends with his dead father. Adele is Peter's 6-year-old sister who is told is dead. Their mother died right after giving birth to Adele, and she is brought to an orphanage. She often has dreams that an elephant comes to rescue her, and she doesn't know why. The magician was performing a magic show, and instead of having lilies appear, made an elephant drop down through the ceiling of the opera house and crippled a noble woman. He was sent to prison along with the elephant. LaFawn is the noble woman that was crippled by the magician's elephant and visits him every day to make him feel bad about it. This story takes place over 200 years ago in a small town named Baltese and begins with Peter being sent to the market to get fish and bread for his guardian Vilna. Peter takes the coin Vilna gave him and visits a fortune teller to find out if his sister is still alive. She tells him that an elephant will lead you to your sister. Across town, the magician is performing his magic show in the opera house. He tries to have lilies magically appear for the noble woman, LaFawn, but it turns into an elephant that falls through the ceiling and lands on her lap. It crushes her legs and cripples her. The magician goes to jail and the elephant does too. Peter eventually finds a way to steal the elephant, and it leads him back to his sister, just like in her dream. She asks, "Who are you?" and Peter says, "I'm your brother." I like this book because Peter finds an elephant that leads him to his orphanage sister. I also like this book because of the part where the elephant falls through the ceiling. I also like when the magician spoke to a star, which was actually the planet Venus. I would give this book 5 stars. The moral of the story is to always believe in yourself, believe what is in your heart.
My name is Haley and I'm in 5th grade. The title of the book I read is Once Upon a Time. The author is Michael Lucas. The genre is modern fantasy. The characters are Sabrina, Daphne, Mr. Game, Candy Rhoda, Puck, Puck's brother and father, the fairy king and queen, Mop, Oz, Cobweb, and Bess. The setting is in the family car going to see Puck's mother in New York City. They find out that Puck is the son of the Fairy King. In the middle, they have to find his scarlet hand is on the Fairy King's body. They think Cobweb killed the king because he hid it. At the end, they have to bring Rob with them anywhere they go because Oz told them to keep track of her. The problem is that Puck that the Fairy King dies. The solution is that they go to the wizard. The moral of the story is working together to solve a problem. The theme is bravery. They find out who killed Puck's dad. It was Mom. They find some of their mother's stuff at their old apartment. Sabrina decides to still be a detective. I recommend you read this book because of all the adventures they had. One of them is when Sabrina fights the gigantic robots. Thank you.
I'm a student in 4th grade. My name is Mason, and I recently read a modern fantasy book called Narnia, The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis. The characters are Polly Plummer, and she is a curious girl, and the other character is Duggery, and Duggery is a nice person. The setting is in London. In the beginning, Duggery's uncle tricked him and Polly to get back to his rings. The middle, they got the rings and found out that they can travel between worlds. And they got home, but they brings a witch with them. And at the end, they got the witch where she belongs back. Uncle Anderson was the uncle, and he never did magic again. I thought the book was okay, so 2 out of 4 stars. I don't like how the other books have different characters. I don't like how the evil queen, because I think she messes up the whole book. I don't like the title because it takes a while to figure it out. I recommend you read this book if you want to learn more about Narnia.
Every night, Mr. and Mrs. Winston sleep soundly in their beds, but one night they weren't. Leroy Ninker was a little man with a big dream. It was to be a cowboy, but for now he was a thief. He was robbing the Winstons in the kitchen of 54 Duckwood Drive. He grabbed the toaster, he yanked it across the countertop. Screech! Went the toaster. Shh, said Leroy. Mercy woke up. Mercy Winston loved toast. She particularly loved toast with a great deal of butter on it. Mercy heard Mr. Winston snoring. She heard Miss Winston snoring, who was downstairs making toast. Leroy Ninker got a hold of the blender. He grabbed the clock, he grabbed the cookie jar, he grabbed the juicer, he grabbed the teapot, he grabbed the waffle iron. Leroy Ninker didn't know a way to go around the pig, or under the pig. Then he had to go over the pig. Leroy got the bag and stepped forward. The pig moved. Leroy froze. Mercy opened her eyes. She looked at the corner of her eyes. She smelled butter. Maybe somebody next door was making sugar cookies. Mercy galloped out the open door toward the Lincoln sisters' house. Baby Lincoln heard a noise. Baby went into Angela's bedroom. Baby said, "Did you hear that noise? Did you hear that yippee-yi-yo sound? You were just dreaming. Go back to sleep." Angela yelled out the window she was going to call the police. In Leroy Ninker's mind, he was a cowboy, but in the real world, he was a thief. Fire department came. Lorenzo said, "I see the pig." Ned said, "The pig is sitting on somebody." The police came. Officer DeMello saw 2 firemen, 3 women in nightgowns, and 1 man in pajamas. They were all gathered around the pig. He asked himself, is that the same pig I caught driving a convertible?" The police came up to Leroy and asked if he was a thief. Are you robbing these people?" He said yes, until the pig got involved. He asked everyone to help to lift the pig off Leroy. Miss Winston asked if they could feed Leroy before you arrest him, because he is so tiny. The next morning, on the front page of the newspaper, the whole story was told again.
The author of this book is Mary Brooks Osborne. The book is called Eve of the Emperor Penguins. This book is realistic fiction. My name is Trey, and I'm in 4th grade. This story is about Jack and Andy are going to the top of Mount Everest. First, they get in the bus and drive to the helicopter and look for the cabin. After arriving at the cabin, they are all ready to go climbing Mount Everest. They were looking for the leader of the penguins. They needed to find food to Jack got sick and did not get to see the leader of to find their way back to their that has a picture of Lizard Lake swamp and wish they could go there. The tree house started to spin. The tree house is back where it was the first time. I like this book because it has adventure and climbing up Mount Everest. What made it a great was of the time traveling. I really recommend this book.
Hi, I'm Amber and I'm in 4th grade, and this is my review on a modern fantasy book called Abraham Lincoln at Last. It's by Mary Brooks Osborne. The main characters are Annie and Jack. The setting was at their house in America. At the beginning, they're trying to get a special feather to save a baby penguin, Penny. The magical treehouse takes them to D.C. in 1861. The president is too busy to see them, so they use magic to talk to him, and it took them back in the woods. They met an orphan named Sam to help them. They helped Sam because his horse kicked him. Soon, they went back to the treehouse, and they found that Sam was Abraham, and before he gave them a feather and ink, they went back to the treehouse and swooped. They were back home, and they saved Penny the penguin. You should read this book, because when you're done, you'll want to read it over and over again. I loved it.
My name is Sophia. I'm in the 4th grade, and I'm going to tell you about my modern fantasy based on Greek mythology. The title of this book is Goddess Girls, Pandora the Curious, and written by Joan Harold and Susan Williams. Goddess Girls makes Greek mythology fun for kids by using young characters to play the parts. The main character is Pandora and Epimetheus, and they are mortals. The other characters are gods, like Zeus, Poseidon, Athena, and Aphrodite. The story starts out with Epimetheus and his brother are moved to Olympus. Epimetheus was given a box by his uncle Zeus, and all the kids wanted to know what was in the box. The kids started to fight over and it flew in the air and landed in Pandora's arms. She took a little peek, and the lid swung open, and all the trouble bubbles came out. These were normal bubbles. When they touched someone, it changed their personalities. Some people became mean, ditzy, lazy, liars, scared, and thieves, and they did not know why. When Pandora realizes one bubble is in there, and then the lid closes really fast, and she quickly realizes her friends are acting strange, and she knew the bubbles had something to do with it. Epithepius takes the box from Pandora and gives it to Zeus. Pandora knew she had to get the box back to find out what the words are on the front of the box. Pandora knew she needed help, so she and Epithepius went to get the box. They find the box and realize one bubble's left. They open the box and the bubble floats up and brushes against her face and whispers, "Hope." The bubble floats over to Athena and brushes her face, and the bad bubble flew out. Pandora and Epithepius quickly catch the bad bubble in the net and put it in the box. Then they followed the whole bubble until every bad bubbles were in the box, and everybody was back to normal. I recommend reading this awesome book. It teaches us to do what we're told, and if you do not, bad things can happen. Goddess Girls is a great twist on old Greek stories.
My name is Addison. I'm currently in 4th grade. The book that I read is called Fairy Reliam, The Third Wish, and it's fantasy fiction and by Emily Rond. The main character is Jessie, who is a little girl that likes mermaids, and her mom and Rosemary. Chapter 1 is about Jessie saving her mom and grandma because there is a fire outside. In Chapter 2, Grandma stays at their house in Blue Moon, and Jessie is going undersea to find a stone that is called a wish stone, so she can stop the fire outside, and finds out that her grandma is a mermaid. At the end, she ran into the undersea palace housekeeper, and Glyph had the stone and wished for 1,000,000 cookies.